Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about Detective Conan, one of my favorite series. It has been a favorite series of mine since 2001 or 2, so that's quite a long time, right? Actually, it is now my second favorite or third favorite series of all time due to the fact that One Piece has become so much better. I'm sorry, but this is the truth. However, today I'm going to talk about Detective Conan because it deserves the attention. Even though it has some problems within itself, it's still the best detective series out there. Regarding, of course, mangas and everything. You usually have Death Note when it comes to, a crime series. What was the other one? Erased, perhaps. So there are mystery series, and usually every manga and every anime deals with some sort of mysteries, but this is the detective story. This is the detective that everyone knows in Japan. Well, most people, basically. Detective Conan managed to get such a status in Japan that it is still watched by millions of people on TV, and he promotes police officers or the work of police in general in Japan and whatnot. So there are many things Detective Conan is famous for, and it is actually quite popular in other countries as well. Not as popular as random animes. There are some cult statuses out there. You would say that, well, Full Metal Alchemist is the best, or Death Note was the best. There are all sorts of series, but Detective Conan has been around since 1994. But that goes for the manga because the anime appeared in 1996, and from that time on, it has been on air ever since. So it is a very long running series. And Aoyama Gosho was the one who thought of Detective Conan's story, which, well, it's not an easy story in a sense that it's really hard to wrap your head around it if you haven't seen it. But I tried to compress the story into a very small portion. Basically, it's about Kudo Shinichi. Kudo Shinichi is a high school detective. He's 16, 17-ish years old. Well, he was 16 at the beginning of the series. And he's a high school detective. He solves murder cases in front of the police, before the police. So he's like the modern day Sherlock Holmes. And they even say it in the series as well. So, it's not just my comparison. And, he's full of it. He's conceited. But, he has a kind heart. And he has a childhood friend, Mori Ran, whom he secretly loves. And, of course, the girl, Ran, secretly loves him too. However, before the two can confess, something happens. Shinichi is actually captured by a sinister men in black, and we are calling them in the fandom, we are calling them Men in Black. So Men in Black suits actually catch him off guard, and they want to kill him, but since the police is around the area, they cannot use their guns, they don't have a silencer or whatnot, so they just give him a drug. They think that this drug will kill him without any trace, so they cannot even trace back what kind of drug he was killed by, so people would just assume that, it was a heart attack or whatnot. So it would have been the perfect crime. However, Shinichi survives, but he becomes 10 years younger. In the Japanese version, they said that, well, he becomes smaller, which makes sense because, if you compare a 17-year-old with a 16-year-old boy with a 6-year-old boy, there is a difference in height and whatnot. So his body became one of a 6-year-olds, but his mind stayed sharp. Now here's the deal. What should he do? Of course, he doesn't want to run to his parents because obviously parents need to be left out, and his parents are away. Where? In the US, of course. But this is a typical anime excuse for any parents. They are rich and they are not living in Japan currently. And that's basically the gist of it. So he goes to his neighbor, Professor Agasa or Agasa Hakase, whichever name you prefer, and he proves himself that, what, I'm Shinichi, here is the proof, whatever. And Agasa suggests him that he should keep a low profile because obviously these men in black are quite powerful. I mean, to run around with such drugs isn't just a small deal, it's actually quite a huge deal. So if people, if somehow his current situation would be published, he would be in big trouble, and they might come after him and kill him or whatever. And since Shinichi doesn't want to get help from his parents or I don't know from what, and obviously the police wouldn't believe him, well, at least for now, so he decides to go along with Agasa's plan. But then, of course, the worrying Ran appears. Ran was left behind at the amusement park, so now she's worried about Shinichi. She comes home and she sees the little boy, Shinichi, and Shinichi just uses his father's glasses, and he wears them as a decoy. And then, when Ran confronts him and saying that, well, who are you, little boy? He thinks of the two randomest things ever, Conan and Edogawa. These names derive from from two actually detective mystery writers. One of them is Edogawa Rampo, the Japanese one, and the other is, of course, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who created Sherlock Holmes. So this is how he becomes Edogawa Conan. Professor Agasa thinks that since Ran's father is actually a private detective, Kogoro Mori or Mori Kogoro, it would be in Shinichi's best interest if he would go to the detective agency and live together with Ran and her father. And, in a detective agency, everything can happen, cases can come, and maybe a case with the man in black might appear. And this is where Shinichi could actually, get more information on these people, right? So this is how we start off. Obviously, it is sort of a romantic comedy. The story is, mostly not just a romantic comedy, it is mostly a shonen, because the genre is shonen. It appears in Shonen Sunday, which appears on Wednesdays, by the way, but never mind that. So, this whole thing is, as Aoyama Gosho put it, it is a mystery touch series. It is a touch series because it has drama in it. It has love affairs and everything what you might not see in shonens usually. And on the other hand, you get cases. Sometimes you get action too. And Shinichi as Conan tries to solve as many cases as possible. But now that he's a kid, he cannot just go out there and say, Mr. Policeman, the murderer is him. Because obviously he doesn't want to gain too much attention, although he does at the end of the series. Well, let's not discuss that here. But anyways, he has to do as if he were just an assistant or something like that. So Professor Agasa gives him some inventions which help him by solving the cases. He basically, what he does is that he uses a watch and he makes Kogoro go to sleep, with some anesthetic gun basically. So Kogoro is asleep, he uses a voice changing bow tie, and then he changes his voice, alters his voice to Kogoro's voice, and thus sleeping Kogoro detective is born. Kogoro gets famous, he gets more cases, and then Shinichi aka Conan can solve these cases, and eventually this will lead to more Men in Black cases or Black organization cases, as it will turn out later on. Of course, there will be friends, foes, enemies, frenemies, love interests, more than one. There are many things in the series. So why is it good? It's good because, in every month you get a case. A different kind of case. It could be kidnapping, it could be murder, it could be serial killing, it could be bombing, you name it. Every kind of crime is there, even suicide. And there is always a trick involved. One Piece, I think, reached its peak in the 2000s, around 2002 and 2004. So I would say that the first 50 volumes of Detective Conan were the greatest and the best. They seriously were very good. There were some cases which could be easily dismissed, but other than that, they were just great. After that, there was a little bit of a decline, more to the fact that Aoyama Gosho had to extend the story, and this is not such a story which can be expanded to an unlimited period of time. And this is why the series gets repetitive. You can more easily guess who the murderer is. So, and of course, the main storyline grows like a snail. Not grows like a snail, so it goes in a snail pace, basically, and that's not good. And this is one of the reasons why I began to dislike Detective Conan for a bit, because it's just not enough. It's above 1,000 episodes, 1,000 manga chapters, and it's still going this slowly. And due to Aoyama's health, sometimes you won't get chapters for a month, because it is a weekly published manga, of course, so you won't get chapters every week, and this makes it even slower. It's a hard read if you are a weekly reader, and I've been a weekly reader since, 2005, I guess, so the fifth hundred chapter, since the 500th chapter or so. So I'm a veteran regarding Detective Conan, so I'm not just talking out of thin air. I've basically been there. And the chapters between 500 and sort of 700 or 750, they were not so good. There were some good intentions, maybe between 500 and 600 they weren't as bad, but from 600 to 700, I think those were the lower points of Detective Conan, to be honest with you. But after a new character appeared, Amuro Toru, everything changed. There are some cool adult characters in Detective Conan who have the story. They have the story in a different way. There is Akai Shuichi, there's Amuro Toru, and their presence is so needed in the series, because the series needs something fresh, something more adult, perhaps. I don't know how to put it, but this is basically one of the aspects of the story. The main story itself has darkness to it. It has intricacy, great characters, but everything is just so slow. And I wouldn't mind that, because as I mentioned before, I've been a fan since 2002 or so. So it's really nothing for me at this point. And I am a patient reader, but at the same time, when your character is basically the same as the character was in the first chapter, you are not exactly sure. There's no character development. There is nothing really good about that when your character acts stupid or uncharacteristic things happen to him or her. There's a character, Ran, for example, the love interest, the main love interest, and she's like a kind girl, she's scared of ghosts, and for the 100th times when she's scared of ghosts, she's like, eek! You are just like, do we really need this? Yeah, so Detective Conan is really a patience game, but if you are interested and you really like mystery series, Detective Conan is the series for you, because it has good cases. Of course, they are predictable after a while, but you do get to see nice tricks, interesting tricks, and some of them actually work in real life. So Aoyama Gosho isn't just there to say that, when this happens and that's it. So most of the tricks can work, could work. It's a coincidence that they don't work or work. So obviously he doesn't want to give you ideas how to murder someone, but still, these tricks sound so out of this world, or from this world. Sorry about that. So they sound from this world. They sound true. that as if it could happen here and now in your neighborhood or whatever. And the characters too, some of the characters are actually good and not just typical characters. They are not just typical characters. And I really like that about Ayamagosho, that he really tries to do his best to make the cases more interesting, and the show is very educational as well. Whether you want to learn some Japanese or interesting facts about Japanese, there are some Japanese codes inside them, so you can solve codes. And for example, I never knew, there's a character, I think in katakana, there is the line character, which stands for E, the letter E. And, it is also Shinichi's name, so it means ku, or I think it means ku in kudo. So it means ku as well, but that's the kanji part of it. And it's just a random fact, but now I know it. And there are some random scientific facts as well, random physics, random Japanese things, which you might have not known. So it is actually a very, very good presentation of Japan in this sense, that you actually are like, really, this happens? Wow. Now I learned something new. These disposable facts that nobody's interested in them, but yet when you hear about it, it's like, really, I never knew that kind of thing. So yeah, Detective Conan has its good sides. It has really cute characters and really great mysteries. On the other hand, it is repetitive, and mind you, don't watch the anime. Just don't, really. There is 100, no, I always want to say 100, sorry. There is 1,000 episode in Detective Conan, and I dare to say that half of it is filler. I'm not sure how many episodes are filler. I have to check it. Maybe I'll check it and then I add it here, that you can actually see. But there are so many fillers that it is unbearable. And you know what? If I said that, characters are getting repeated and cases are getting repeated, well, anime fillers are just the worst. You know exactly it's an anime filler because it is not well thought out. It is stupid to some regard. There are some good ones. I'm not going to say that, well, everything is trash, but there are so few of them that I can't recommend it to you at all. And if that were the only case, I even would say that, what, why not? But the animation, it's horrendous, especially in the first few hundreds. It always changes. You can always see that they had money, they didn't have money. They just can't get the characters right. And it is so awful that, at one point you see a great character and in the next panel or in the next episode they look ugly. They do really look ugly. Of course, nowadays it's getting better and better. And obviously they have more money, they have more consistency. I give them that. But it's not the same. And Detective Conan was actually, if I want to say something positive, and I want to, because Detective Conan is great in itself. And sorry for being so negative, but I just love this series so much. You can trash series you don't know because it's like, it's not my thing, it's bad, it's boring, whatever. But when you know a series this well, I have been there and I've been a big fan. You're just stricter than normal, and you're like, this is not good, and it's not good, and it's hurting the series. And that's why I'm a bit more critical to Detective Conan, because it is a good series, but it has its faults, and these faults are not as pretty as I would hope them to be. So what I wanted to mention is that Detective Conan is one of the series which popularized J-pop. So back in those days, back in the 1990s, it was like bands gave some music to the animes, the openings and endings, and that was it. However, in Detective Conan, it made them actually popular, and vice versa. So it wasn't just a song, it wasn't just a song about the series itself. I don't know how to put it, but Detective Conan has so many songs which opened at the top of the charts, of the Japanese charts, on the top of the Japanese charts, that it actually became a trend to do an anime's opening or ending, because they realized, it was in the 1990s and the 2000s, that if you do that, people actually listen to it and kids listen to it and they can make money out of it. And this is why some famous singer became known, not just due to Detective Conan, of course, so they were famous outside of Detective Conan, but it sure helped both sides. They have Detective Conan, and Detective Conan helped them too. For example, my favorite band, B and the Sea, I love them. I would have never heard a single song of them if it hadn't been for watching Detective Conan. Really. Or Kuraki Mai, she's great. Or Garnet Crow. Or Zado. Unfortunately, the main singer died in 2012, I believe. She had such a beautiful voice. And there are so many of them. Rina Ayuchi, I believe. Sorry if I pronounced her name wrong. Sometimes I get it wrong. I can't really remember. There are so many singers there. And Beyond the Sea made 5 or 6 songs for Detective Conan. And Detective Conan is popular because it has, I believe, 25 movies so far. 25 or 26 movies so far. I think the 26th movie will appear this year in 2023. And of course, it will be where? It will be situated in a submarine. There has been a joke in the Detective Conan Society or a fandom that, Detective Conan has been everywhere. Up in the sky, on the sea, on a ship, on a skyscraper, multiple skyscrapers, winter, summer, pirates. There was everything that could happen. And then, we said that, well, there must be a case in space as well. Well, we didn't get to space yet, but we do have the submarine one. So that's great. If you watch any of the Detective Conan movies, you will see that it is false advertisement. Basically, the films are, the first few films definitely are rip-offs of American movies, American action movies. The films, Detective Conan movies, are actually less about the mystery and more about the action. Which is fine, because they want to show off that we are cool, and this is cool, and that is cool, but that's not exactly Detective Conan, is it? I'm sorry for being so harsh on Detective Conan, but, it just irritates me that the movies are not what the manga is, or what the manga is about. The manga is about mysteries, and not random mystery and bombs, because in every movie you will have explosions, many explosions, and they are spectacular, of course, but there are so many of them. Oh my god, so many. But really. And so these movies are not the manga, so the stories are not the same. So if you love the movies, you might not love or like the series itself, or vice versa. And this happened to me because I love the series, I just don't really like the movies. However, you have to give credit to the movies, because I don't know which year the Endgame, arrived. A few years ago, right? In 21, I don't want to say because I don't know. 18 perhaps? I really don't know. But Detective Conan was number 1 and beat Avengers: The Endgame. This is how popular Detective Conan is. And of course, this year, the One Piece movie has been really going on, One Piece Red, and I think the Demon Slayer movie was on the top too. So Detective Conan movie wasn't the best movie, but it was still generating so much money that it will have another movie and another movie and another movie and another movie. Obviously, this means that the series will not end soon. Of course, Aoyama Gosho and his health problems may actually lead to the ending of the series. And I think that he does want to end the series, he just sort of can't. I don't really know why, but I really hope and wish to see the end of the series to have a nice ending, for our characters to have a nice ending, because Shinichi deserves it, I guess, and Ran definitely deserves it. And it's nice to see a series to conclude, even such a long series. It's definitely not a series I would say that you should watch it as an anime. If you want to watch an anime which is 1,000 episodes long, go to One Piece. With all the fillers, I don't care. It's still better than, unfortunately, Detective Conan with the 1,000 episodes. I keep saying 100, sorry. then, so it's better than Detective Conan, I can honestly say. However, if you like Agatha Christie, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, mystery series in general, this is your manga. You can read it in English, German, Italian, Chinese, I believe, Indonesian. There are so many possibilities for you to read it. I actually own some of them, so just to make clear that I'm not kidding here. I'm reading the German version because this is the most available for me for now, but it depends. The Japanese version is there because I got it from my friend. My friend went to Japan and thought that it would be a lovely gift for me to actually buy a volume of Detective Conan. Thank you very much. Although I didn't want to get this volume of Detective Conan because it's not that good, but I was so happy, and it has a different smell to it. I have never been to Japan before. Hopefully this year or some year it will happen. We'll see about that, but the series itself is really something. As a manga, is really something you should look into if you are interested in that. And don't worry about the peak being at the 50th volume, or I think volume 42 is the peak of Detective Conan, and maybe the one where Amuro Toru appears. Those cases are great. So the good things are the good mysteries. The bad things are that the story is not just that slow, that it's getting repetitive, just like myself, because I think I'm getting repetitive, aren't I? Anyways, Detective Conan has its positives, negatives, but regardless, it's a series worth watching, or reading at least. I don't recommend watching it, but the openings are actually quite good. The openings and the endings, the older ones, I haven't heard the new ones. I have to be honest, I wasn't watching them at all. But I think that maybe I will give them a chance to, sometimes maybe. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you like this video and found it informative, you know what to do. Give me a like, subscribe, whatever, whatnot. Thank you very much for being here, and have a lovely day. Bye bye.